Hello, everyone. It's your boy Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It, and I just came back from the theaters from seeing a new coming-of-age comedy from first-time director Olivia Wilde in Booksmart. Now, if you guys know, this is one of my hidden gems for May 2019, so I'm excited to talk to you guys about it, let you know what I thought about it. So we'll get into it right after the jump. So for those of you who don't know, Booksmart is a film from Olivia Wilde about two teenage girls played by Kaitlyn Dever, best recognized from Justified, and Beanie Feldstein, who, in addition to being Jonah Hill's younger sister, she was also in Lady Bird. She's got a great career. She's on tour on Broadway with Bette Midler now, or she was in 2017. So she's got a great career as well. But it's about two teenage girls who have been doing their entire high school life by the books. They're straight A students. They're getting into the best colleges. They've been doing everything on the straight and narrow. They had no fun, no party. They kind of just been living, just the two of them in their bubble while everybody else is out possibly succeeding, but having fun. And they want to have at least one time or one night of fun before they go off into college. So that's what the entire premise of the film is about. And I think they succeed and make a pretty solid coming of age story that I think a lot of people should be seeing, and it should be doing better in theaters than it currently is. So we don't know what they're doing in the reviews here. We talk about likes first, then dislikes, and then we'll rank it, okay? So let's start off with my likes. What I really like about this movie, off top, is that it's sort of a smorgasbord of coming of age stories. The biggest one that you can think of is because the two leads and how it's kind of structured is Superbad. That's what comes to mind. But I would say Superbad meets a little bit of Lady Bird with sprinkle in some of last year's Blockers. I think all of those kind of come together and create a new way of seeing a coming of age story from the eyes of young women. And I think what really helps this story and why it feels so much more authentic is that it's starring women, written by women, and then directed by a woman. Oh, you can do that. And it creates a masterful, I think, masterful story that they've put together. That even when sometimes, which we'll get into dislikes, even sometimes when it becomes a little, what you could see predictable, or you can kind of pull at the threads, it's done in such a way and done in such a refreshing way that because we're getting this story through someone else's eyes, it's just as new as it would be having seen American Pie all the decades ago that I did. Two, the direction of the film is really strong. For Olivia Wilde to be her first time, I think she did a really good job. I don't know, films are shot out of order, so I don't know if she shot the first half of the film first and then the back half, but I feel like the eye of the director improved as the film went along because it becomes a little less by the books and it becomes a little bit more artsy towards the back half. And I don't know if that was a choice or if she wanted to structure the film like that, but I think when we get to the final party in this movie, there's some great things done directing wise that I just fell in love with. There's an entire, I'm not going into spoilers, but there's an entire pool sequence that happens, that a reveal happens for our main character, and you get to see visually underwater all the reactions that Amy, Kaitlyn, goes through to for the audience to kind of go up and down. She's on cloud nine, then a reveal happens and she's not, and you get to see all of that emotion, and you get to see that come back. And then there's a great argument sequence between Amy and Molly that happens, and you get to drop out the sound, but you just make out the facial mouthing and reactions that they're giving each other. And it's so small, simple choices, but it's so powerful and it works, and it gives the moments that this movie could just be like Blockers, which I liked too, where it's straight comedy with some emotional beats. These emotional beats hit a little bit harder because there's a lot more weight and gravitas to it. I think it's handled really well. Three, I really dug the message of this film. I know a lot of coming of age stories do the thing where there's a smart person, there's a dumb person, there's a jock, there's the promiscuous girl. I'm not going to use the word, but there's a promiscuous girl. And you have all of those, and they're all separate people. What this movie does well and gives a message about, and what I think is the actual tableau of what high schools always have been, is that people can be all of those things at once. And so there's a huge sequence that happens in earlier in the film where our character, Molly, goes through a situation where she realizes that what she thought was necessary to get to school, to get to a good college, everyone else has gotten to a good college as well, while also still living their life. And you can still be the jock, the sports guy. You can maybe not even go to school, but get a great job, a 6-figure income job. You could be what would be considered the high school slut, and you still have a good, solid school in front of you. And then I think what happens, and what I really love about the movie, is that it tail ends and comes back to show you that while you may have your view of this one person, and you may have this one view of this one person as being the jock, slut, whatever it is, they are also, the other side, human. And they've been struggling with the labeling that people have put on them. And maybe that's not necessarily the case. And maybe it is the case. But even if that is, they were just living their life. They were being a kid. They were doing what kids do. Let them live their life. They're still going to go off and do great things as they grow up. And I love that this movie kind of shows you both sides and gives you the full coin of what it's like to be in high school. Now, let's talk about the dislikes. This one's hard for me to do dislikes because I feel like I'm pulling at straws to do this. And it just shows you how much I do really, really enjoy this movie. So my dislikes are me pulling where there's sometimes there's no need to do so. One, there is a secondary character in this movie that borders on the line of being hyper realistic or a caricature. I love what she's doing. Everything she's doing is great, but it happens so much and so randomly that it almost feels like this character is like the Roadrunner and just keeps popping up and showing up in places where everything else seems super realistic, and she seems to be the outlier of that. Now, it fixes itself a little bit, and this is where it's hard for me to put this in 100% dislike, because it didn't really bother me, and the reason why it didn't bother me is because there is a mentioning of how she is or who she really is by another character that's attached to her, that kind of cleans up her story and gives her a purpose, which helped me kind of click in my head like, okay, I can then justify the wackiness and zaniness of who that character is. Two, the relationships that our main character, Amy and Molly, sort of wind up to is very heavily telegraphed at the beginning of the film. And for some, that could be a problem, because you can kind of like, oh, well, I knew this was happening. I saw this. The writing was on the wall. I'm always, for this one, I'm undermining my dislikes. But the reason why that didn't concern me so much is, yes, it is very telegraphed, and I could see it. Even the moment it happened, I said, oh, that's where we're going with these people. The reason why it didn't bother me so much is because unlike a lot of films that do it and telegraph it, this feels earned when they get to that payoff or when they get to those newfound relationships, because they all have to have a moment in what they are chasing that does not work or does not fail, or something happens that they have to then kind of readjust and flip on the fly and say, well, yeah, that's what I wanted, but this might be what's better. And I think that's a fact of life that needs to be taught. And so that while it is telegraphed, I feel like the process to get there is very realistic and very true and very earned. So it doesn't matter that it's on the wall. Like, I think the directing and the way that it's written and done is so packaged together perfectly that whether you know that that's where they end up is irrelevant. I think it's the journey to get there is what's important. And then the third thing that kind of is a dislike, again, not really, but the third dislike would be, it's a predictable story. But all coming of age stories are predictable. I mean, that's sort of what they are. You know that they're going to learn, they're going to go start off one way, they're going to learn something important, and then they're going to be a slightly different person than they were at the end of it. That's what coming of age stories are. So none of that really bothers me. Yes, there's a predictability to it, but again, with one of my likes when I talked about the fact that we're getting this from a woman, starring women, written by women, to showcase that women go through the same things that guys do, or sometimes even it's even harder for them. I think that supersedes the predictability aspect of it and makes just a film that I think anybody should see this. And it's funny, as I was leaving the theater, I was thinking, like, why didn't this connect with anybody? Like, why is this movie not working in the theaters? And the only thing that I can think of, and it sucks because I feel like this is a common thing for all audiences. I feel like general audiences don't want to see girls, because this happened with blockers too, don't want to see girls or women go through drugs, foul language, or sexual acts from adolescents to adults the way that they're okay with seeing it for guys. I could be wrong. Go ahead and leave your comments in the comment section and let me know if I may be off base. But I feel like that sometimes is why movies like Blockers or this, when they do coming of age stories for women, they're not as well received as they would be by the audiences, as they would be like Superbad or like Can Hardly Wait or American Pie. It feels like our American culture is programmed to say boys will be boys, but girls can't do that. And I feel like we need to get away from that as fast as we possibly can and just show that like we all are willing and able to F up and not know what the hell we're doing, and we have to go through these things. This movie has a great sequence at the end with Molly and a girl that she did not like that just made my heart melt, because it's like, oh yeah, of course, a girl figuring out herself sexually doesn't mean that that's whatever stamp or whatever name that they give her is who she is as a whole. She's more than that. But I feel like the way that America works and the way that guys work is that they won't allow her that process and in high school. But there's a whole moment with her, and I won't give away the speech, but it's great. So what did I think about the film? Where does it rank on my thing? As you can tell, even my dislikes aren't that harsh for this film, because I think this is one of my favorite movies of the year so far. So obviously, just in saying that, when we rank them, what do I rank them? Is it Play It Again, Sam? Once Is Enough? Or give me a time stone or like erase my brain? For this one, it's cut and dry. It's very easy. Play this one again, Sam. Play it again, play it again, play it again. I really, really enjoyed this movie. Out of all the hidden gems that I've said for the May of 2019, this is the one that ranks the highest on that list for me. I think everybody should be seeing this film. And I hope that the box office doesn't discourage both Olivia Wilde as a director, because I think she does a great job, but I hope this also doesn't discourage other women and women writers and from getting the stories from the female perspective out there, because I think they're just as necessary. And I think this might be the one to have to kind of like, you might have to take a couple of bullets that say, yo, we got to show you that we can do the same thing, or show you that girls go through the same thing as guys. Girls are still trying to figure out themselves like guys are, before one of these breaks through and you're like, okay, fine, yes, we are all accepting. We'll take all of this. It doesn't look like Blockers did that. It doesn't look like this did that. Hopefully something comes along and these will be just kind of the pebble stones to get up to that point where we get a film that everyone's like, okay, they got one. That's it. If you haven't checked it out, you should go to the theaters and check it out. It's probably going to have a limited run playing at the independent theater. It's playing at my AMC theaters, but it's playing on the independent circuit of it. So I don't know how long it's going to be there. I feel like once the next big release comes out, it's going to get pushed. So if you have it in your theaters, go check it out, okay? Those are my thoughts on Booksmart. What did you guys think? Have you seen it? If you haven't, you should definitely go check it out. But if you have, let me know about your comments. What did you think? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Am I off base on my assessment of how the world views coming of age comedies with women versus guys, sound off. Let me know. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Ring the bell below. Like, share, let everybody know about the channel. First 500 folks that we get in here on the channel, I'll give somebody something nice for hanging around and letting everybody know about the place, okay? You can email us at hollywoodalreadydidit@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter at hollywoodadi. And we have a podcast by the same name that's on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, anywhere that plays podcasts. This current week, while I wasn't there, there was a guest host with Blake who talked about Aladdin, the live action remake, to see if it was worth the second going of Aladdin, to see if it compared to the original, if it didn't, what they liked, what they didn't like, and to see why films like that beat out movies like Booksmart and Brightburn. But again, like always, I got my ticket. You got yours?